Sound attention. Sound adjutant's call.
Please stand for the national anthem.
Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flight was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Be seated. And my first mistake of the night, I forget your daughter's name. Amber. That's Jacob's daughter, and she's done the course a couple of times, and every time is great. I want to welcome all the Marines, spouses, family, and guests. We're here to celebrate our 240th year of our beloved Marine Corps. Marine Corps birthday is celebrated every year by Marines and veterans all over the world. We're here tonight to honor and celebrate the brave men and women, past and present, who defend our country as U.S. Marines. One of our past Commander-in-Chiefs, Ronald Reagan, said about the Marine Corps, and I quote, "Some people spend a lifetime wondering if they've made a difference. Marines don't have that problem." With that said, I would like Bill Pless to read General Lejeune's birthday message. And for you people who are really into it, I looked it up today, and this was Marine Corps Order number 47. I'm not sure if that means that's his 47th one he issued, but that's how it reads. Bill?
Here's a message written by Lieutenant General John Lejeune to commemorate the Marine Corps birthday, and which shall be read wherever Marines celebrate the birthday around the world. On November 10th, 1775, a Corps of Marines was created by a resolution of the Continental Congress. Since that date, many thousand men have borne the name Marine. In memory of them, it is fitting that we who are Marines should commemorate the birthday of our Corps by calling to mind the glories of its long and illustrious history. The record of our Corps is one which will bear comparison with that of most famous military organizations in the world's history. during 90 of the 167 years of its existence. The Marine Corps has been in action against the nation's foes. From the Battle of Trenton to the Argonne, Marines have won foremost honors in war. And in the long years of tranquility at home, generation after generation of Marines have grown gray in war in both hemispheres and every corner of the 7 seas, that our country and its citizens might enjoy peace and security. In every battle and skirmish since the birth of our corps, Marines have acquitted themselves with the greatest distinction, winning new honors on each occasion until the term Marine has come to signify all that is highest in military efficiency and soldierly virtue. This high name of distinction and soldierly repute we who are Marines today have received from those who preceded us in the Corps. With it, we also receive from them the eternal spirit which has animated our Corps from generation to generation and has been the distinguishing mark of Marines in every age. So long as that spirit continues to flourish, Marines will be found equal to every emergency in the future as they have been in the past, and the men of our nation will regard us as worthy successors through the long line of illustrious men who have served as soldiers of the sea since the founding of the Corps. John Lejeune.
Thank you, Bill. Would you play the video of the Commandant's message, please?
Hear about how Marines are tough and are first to fight, it made me wonder, do I have what it takes to be a Marine?
I knew I always wanted to be a Marine, but I didn't know if I could live up to the legacy of all those who came before me.
We go out through the nation, we find those young men and women that want the challenge of being Marines, we recruit them, and we make them Marines.
Being called the United States Marine is something that
People go over and hear this better than the
Being called the United States Marine is something.
being called the United States Marine
Being called the United States Marine is something earned, not given.
What made me want to be a Marine was wanting to be able to lead others, but also fight for my country, whether that be actually going into combat or just serving in a way that could help others.
We make Marines, we build teams, we fight and win.
These recruits are entrusted to my care. I will train them to the best of my ability. I will develop them into smartly disciplined, physically fit, basically trained Marines, thoroughly indoctrinated in the love of corps and country. I will demand of them and demonstrate by my own example the highest standards of personal conduct, morality, and professional skill.
I, Rens, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me. I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. That I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the Second Lieutenant of the United States Marine Corps. So help me God. So help me God.
From the oldest post of our Corps here in Washington, D.C., and on the eve of our 240th birthday, the Sergeant Major and I want to wish Marines around the world a happy birthday. But more importantly, we hope each of you will have a chance to reflect on our history, remember those who have sacrificed, and reaffirm your commitment to the strengthening of our Corps.
This year also marks 100 years of making Marines and Recruit Depot Paris Island. Our Corps seen many changes in the previous 100 years and throughout our history. But one thing that hasn't changed is each Marine's commitment to contributing to our great legacy.
Each year during our birthday celebration, we listen to the words of our 13th Commandant, General John D. Lejeune. In his message, he says, our legacy is the eternal spirit which has animated our Corps from generation to generation. Marines, I want to reinforce this point. You are the embodiment of that legacy. It's the very foundation of who we are and what we will continue to be.
When we look back at the history of our Corps, we see countless examples of Marines contributing to our past. From our first amphibious raid in New Providence in the Bahamas back in 1776 to the historic Battle of Iwo Jima in 1945.
This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima, hallowed ground for all Marines. It was there, following 36 days of violent combat, where the world saw the warrior spirit and the will to win of the United States Marines.
In February 1945, as U.S. forces fought across the Pacific, their next objective was Iwo Jima.
The young men that I faced on this island were just like me. They were fighting for the Emperor. I was fighting to go home. I never felt anything but comfort as a rifle commander around my troops, because I knew how good they were, how brave they were.
I thank the veterans who sit here among us, and those who today are with us only in spirit.
We tell them that we love them. We honor them for what they did. We tell them we admire their courage. We tell them we still miss them, because we do.
The stories of Corporal Woody Williams and Gunnery Sergeant John Bassalone highlight the fighting spirit of Marines at Iwo Jima.
During the day of February the 23rd, the same day the flag went up, the same day that I did the job that resulted in my receiving the Medal of Honor, 2 of those Marines who were protecting me died. They gave all they had and so much more than I did. And yet I'm the guy that's wearing the medal. And I have said I am just the caretaker of it. I don't wear it for what I did. I wear it for what they did.
5 years after the end of World War II, the Marines showed their indomitable fighting spirit in Korea at numerous places. None more telling than the seawall at Incheon or the unbearable winter at Chosin Reservoir.
The weather was cold and got colder and colder while we were up there trying to get out of that reservoir area. It was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when we started to get hit, and it wasn't North Koreans that was hitting us, it was China.
When the Chinese hit us, we hit back twice as hard. And that was our attitude. The Marines that were there, we didn't go there to face a peace treaty. We went in with the idea of winning the war, and we continued to fight, right up to the very last round.
This year also marks the 50-year anniversary of the Marine Corps' first major offensive in Vietnam, Operation Starlight.
And as soon as H Company landed, all you saw was explosions and pow, pow. I mean, people were shooting.
Starlight was the first big, tough battle that these young Marines had to face, and they were going up against a veteran enemy force. If there were any doubts about whether or not this rock and roll generation of Marines from the 1960s could fight, those doubts were erased by Operation Starlight.
Following Vietnam, our Corps benefited greatly from the experienced NCOs and officers who stayed in service and remained dedicated to improving the professionalism of the Marine Corps. The Marines they groomed would refocus the Corps to a more expeditionary mindset, marked by numerous engagements throughout the 80s and 90s. After the attacks on September the 11th, Marines knew that there would be more to do in support of defending our homeland. With sustained combat operations in Afghanistan and Iraq, a new generation of Marines is built upon the Corps' remarkable heritage. Marines continue to prepare for any crisis and remain ready to deploy as the nation's expeditionary force in readiness.
Get on the water! Get the ammo cannon! Ammo cannon! Go, Paul! Get up!
Sergeant Major and I are reminding daily of our obligation to support and contribute to the legacy of our Corps. These recruits here at Paris Island, like those at San Diego, will soon earn their Eagle Globe and Anchor. Who knows, maybe amongst them is the next Gunnery Sergeant John Bassalone or Corporal Woody Williams.
Those Marines became who they are because their dedicated squad leaders and platoon sergeants trained them well. We must continue that transformation, continue the professional development of those Marines, so that when the nation requires men and women of action, they will summon the courage and tap into our great legacy to accomplish the mission, no matter what the odds.
When another Marine says to simplify, we're saying we are faithful to each other, to be true to each other.
All Marines seem to be out of the same mold. When the time comes, they'll always be ready. They are able. I'm just so proud to be a Marine.
When we come into the Corps, we're taught certain standards, and being faithful to those standards and to each other is pretty much what Simplified is. Who do you fight for? Who do you really fight for? I love this God, country, Corps. No, it's the unit, the guy. You fight for the Corps first. I don't care what anybody says. God may come second. Country can come third. But you fight for the Corps.
Happy birthday, Marines. Wherever you are, deployed in a foreign land, facing our nation's foes, at sea with our Navy shipmates underway, training, with family and friends celebrating our birthday. We must remain ready for that next fight, wherever and whenever it is. And we must continue to uphold the legacy of those that have gone before. And we remain Semper Fidelis.
In front of you, you see an empty table. The table is for one of our fallen Marines. Gerald Faulkner, our chaplain, would you please come to the table and explain the significance of each item?
Ladies and gentlemen, before us is an empty is a table draped in a white drape. Is an empty chair. That signifies our fallen comrades who are not with us this evening because they have given the full measure of devotion to their country and to their beloved Corps. The single candle lighted reminds us of the flame of eternal life and of that memory of our fallen comrades will always be with us. There's a purple heart is displayed to reflect the shedding blood and the ebb of life in battle. The identification tags are blank. They could bear the name of any one of us here today. Only a few Americans have chosen the dangerous necessity work of fighting for our nation's enemies. As a consequence of that choice, some have paid the ultimate price, joining the honor roll of heroes who built the noble legacy of our Corps. For those of us who carry on that legacy, it is our obligation to honor these fallen Marines. As Marines gather in the celebration of our history, we gather in the shadows of greatness. Though the fallen can no longer participate in our traditions, they will always be a part of who we are.
Thank you, Jim. All rise.
Present arms.
Seated. I gotta take a minute. Okay. It's It's now my pleasure to announce the Marine of the Year. Our members were asked to vote for a person in our league they felt went above and beyond normal standards. There's no doubt in my mind they chose the right Marine. Through his efforts, our treasury is in good shape. He's helped me with the Toys for Tots program. He's an officer on our board. He's involved in the finance committee, and he's always there when needed. So at this time, I would like to introduce to you our Marine of the Year. Tom Connolly, would you come up here, please? And I know you can't shake very good, but now, you get that for 3 weeks out of every month.
Okay.
Bertie gets it where, 1 week, because I know she's done one hell of a lot.
Should probably take it tonight.
Congratulations.
Thanks everybody, I couldn't do this without the help of all of you.
Hoorah! At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Arlen Rens, retired. Arlen?
I have to admit that so much of what I thought I wanted to stay has now gone out the window, because after General Miller, he stole so much of my thunder. So I'm going to have to take just a little bit of a detour. And I'd like to reflect not only what it is to be a Marine, but what it is to be a part of Detachment 1280. It's 8 years ago we celebrated our first birthday. And as I look out on the crowd now, I don't see many of the faces that were at that first birthday. So I'm safe in somewhat going over what I said at that first birthday. Marines are unique people. Our character, well, certainly formed in the sands of Paris Island and San Diego, and I know there's going to be an argument about which one puts out the best Marine.
Paris Island.
Challenge accepted. It's formed in the hills of Quantico, as they had the young bus of recruits going down there and saying why they wanted to be a Marine. It's the tradition. A Marine will rather fall on his sword than let down a fellow Marine. And that fellow Marine is not just who's with us today. It goes back to Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon, who led a very small unit of Marines, 11 in total, and assaulted the fortress in Tripoli. Our politicians back then had a little bit more intelligence than ours today, I think. The problem is that pirates were taking American ships and seizing American sailors. Thomas Jefferson said that's not right, so he met force with force. And they went and made the Sultan, as the Godfather said, you make them an offer they can't refuse. And that's what they did. And the Sultan decided he would rather continue breathing than continue seizing American ships. So it stopped. So Presley O'Bannon is a very real person to us. And it goes on down through history. Sergeant Major Dan Daly, he won the, not win, you don't win it, he was awarded the first Medal of Honor for his actions at the Peking legation. He won the second one, or was awarded the second one. at the Battle of the Belleau Woods. He's a very real person to us. Chesty Puller awarded 5 Purple Hearts. Those young men at boot camp learned very quickly that every night he would stand at attention and say good night, Chesty, because he's a very real person to you. And it goes on. They made comment about would the young Marines from the rock and roll generation in 1966, would they hack the load? Would they stand up? Would they meet the measure? I will admit that in 1990, as a commanding officer, when we went to Desert Storm, Desert Shield, I was very concerned about our all-volunteer military. Would they stand up to the challenges? They not only stood up, they exceeded my wildest of imaginations. I remember one night about the 4th day of the war, I had been to bed for 4 days, so it didn't matter, but I was walking down through my maintenance spaces and there was a young sergeant laying on the concrete, catching 30 winks, but he was not going to leave one piece of equipment that was under his responsibility without making sure it was running and being there to fix it if he had to. Those kids were absolute dynamite. How many of you ladies, may I ask, knew your Marines when they were Marines? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, so 4. You've married a very unique individual. We are humble. You say, no, you're not. Yes, we are. We are humble. If you're good, you do not need to talk about it. Those men that you saw that are wearing ribbons and doing things, they will never talk about what they did to earn that ribbon. We joke about it. Superman, a number of years ago, challenged a Marine to a wrestling match, and there was a bet. The bet was that the loser would have to wear his underwear on the outside of his trousers. So we are. You know, we have our things. Ghosts sit around campfires at night telling Marine stories. Boogeymen check their closet at night to make sure there's no Marine hiding. We are very proud of who we are and what we are, but by the same token, we don't need to brag about it. I talked about Presley O'Banion, who led a very small force of Marines across the desert to attack the castle or the fortress at Tripoli. On that walk, there was a young Marine trying to lead a very stubborn donkey. In frustration, he kicked that donkey under the chin. Today you can go and see the progeny of that donkey in the zoo. We call them giraffes. It is a very special privilege to wear this uniform. I'm glad to see the top in his. I'm glad to see Gary in his. We made a commitment when we left our service in the Corps, and that was to be buried in our uniform, not with our uniform. And it's so good to see that men still wear it with pride. We talk about the unique nature of what it takes to be a Marine. Anybody who's been a Marine will know exactly what I mean when I say this. A Marine can figure out how to slam a revolving door. I will flat guarantee it. If a Marine throws you into a bottomless pit, you're going to hit the bottom. But we're very proud of who we are, and what we have done. We don't need to talk about it because others speak for us. Lieutenant General Percival, who was the Commandant of the British Royal Marines back in the 50s, and We take a lot from the Royal Marines, we really do not get me wrong. But we have gone much farther than they ever imagined. But the good general was touring the battlefield in Korea. Since Richard took Ronald Reagan's saying, I have to come up with another one. But General Percival made a comment. He said, there is no safer place in Korea than behind a platoon of attacking Marines. God, but they can fight. So it's that reputation that goes forward. We do not need to talk about it. We are, in fact, feared. When the Marines took over from the British Royal Marines in Helmand Province in Afghanistan back in 2003, the complaint of the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban was, you guys don't fight like anybody else. You take it to us. Marines have always been known to run to the sound of gunfire. You don't want to fight sitting behind sandbags in a foxhole. You win the fight by going and making their life so miserable that they know that this would be a wise thing to quit doing what I'm doing. That's how Marines win fights. You saw the things of boot camp and whatnot. I'm remembering back 50 years now. It's a long time. And listening to the national anthem being sung. When I stood in front of the theater in San Diego, I was now a United States Marine. I earned it. Little did I know how much more I had to do to live up to it, but still I had earned it. And they played the national anthem, and I got chills down the back of my neck like I never had before. And every time I hear it, I still fight the tear and get the chills, because I had earned the title of United States Marine. And I served this great country. And that, my dear friends, is something that no one can ever take away from you. And for you ladies, I'm going to say one last thing that Marines can do. And you will now agree with me. A Marine can give an aspirin a headache. This is a special night, 240 years. Tradition, history, legacy. We may not be quite as young and fit as we were, but we will always answer the call. Happy birthday, Marines.
Hoorah!
Thank you, Arlen. I now need the oldest and the youngest Marine for the cake cutting ceremony. The Marine Corps birthday cake cutting ceremony is one of our time-honored traditions. One of the most important elements of the ceremony is the traditional recognition of the oldest and the youngest Marine. After cutting the cake, I will hand the first piece to the oldest Marine. After taking a bite, the oldest Marine will pass this piece of cake on to the youngest Marine. This action symbolizes the passing of wisdom, knowledge, experience, as well as trust and confidence to those who will continue to carry our Marine Corps tradition. Jacob, you've got to hear the youngest.
Anyone under 42?
Please. God, I need only fish. And William Pless.
Got a big piece for yourself.
100 years ago, it seems like, I was the youngest Marine, and I got to get the first bike. One of these days, I'll be the oldest. But you go ahead and keep it up. That's the only part I couldn't practice.
Good job.
William, you get to do it first and then pass it on. Clean for it.
Thank you.
And look at all that wisdom.
Feel smarter over
You want to keep that one with you? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
I had this honor last year, and it is an honor. And I made a comment then that I thought that some members of the detachment might be lying about their age. I hadn't heard an opinion about that. But I'm glad I hadn't been superseded.
It's been my honor.
Honor too.
Prior to the Marines standing and singing the Marine Corps hymn, I'd like to read you one more quote from the past First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt. In 1945, she was visiting Marine bases and made the statement, and I quote, "The Marines I have seen around the world have the cleanest bodies, the filthiest minds, the highest morale, the lowest morals of any group of animals I have ever seen. Thank God for the U.S. Marine Corps." Pete Huber, would you please rise and toast the Corps, and then we will stand and sing the Marine Corps.
I will. I discovered the secret of what I'm going to do next year. I had a 31-inch waist when I got my dress blues, and I've since have been enhanced. I discovered the secret to that. I could do what this young man did with his, only button the top up. Okay. Here is to the Marines who came before us in the first 240 years. And here is to the Marines who are with us tonight. And here is to the Marines who will follow us in the next 240 years. May you and everyone rejoice in the history of our beloved Corps. Hear, 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 hear. Hurrah! Hurrah!
Thank you, Pete. Would the Marines stand so we can sing the Marine Corps hymn? Yes.
There is a lead-in.
There is a lead-in. From the halls of mountains, the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First we fight for rights and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
Yeah, we're done.
General Faulkner, would you please say grace?
I want to make one comment about that song 40 plus years ago when they sent me to some dreaded place called Camp Lejeune, and they made us listen to that, and we Navy corpsmen made under our breath comments. Some gunnery sergeant or first sergeant said, boys, in 20 years they'll play that, and without realizing it, your heels will come together, you'll stand at attention, and you'll look for a flag. They ingrained us too. Okay. Let's pray. Father God, tonight we thank you for being in this room, for honoring the Marine Corps, for remembering our heritage as brothers and sisters together that defend this great nation that gives us the privilege to stand and take our place. We pray that you bless this meal, continue the fellowship together with fellows, and may we honor you and honor our country. Amen.
Amen. I want to take 1 minute here and thank the ladies who did the decorations, Jeanette, and Wayne. Priscilla's not here. She didn't make it. Priscilla Ford. And also Chris, who is going to supply the food and Taste of Joy. This is our 3rd year, 5th year?
Oh, I think 4th or 5th.
4th year, 5th year? Many years. And we keep bringing them back, so we're going to like what he serves. With that, Gary, I'll ask you to escort our honored guests, starting with this table and then that table, down for dinner. And from that point on, let's go down that way and then come up this way.